So I know I am really late to this party and that much has already been said and written about this topic, but I just finally got around to seeing Neil deGrasse Tyson's 2012 Big Think video where he boldly, and I think bravely, comes out as an agnostic. Neil was already one of my heroes, but sometimes you just have to wonder, where does he find the courage? I mean, most people in the last 10 years have come out and taken sides on this rather big issue, but somehow Neil found the intestinal fortitude to land dead center on that fence. And let me tell you something, that is not a comfortable place to be. You can totally lose a ball. But you also end up taking it from both sides. And while I don't know if in the fallout Neil personally suffered from making that video, I can only hope that no one did anything terrible to him like they did to me back when I was still an agnostic, which was they burned a question mark right here out in my front lawn. It was awful. But I want to take a moment to defend Neil from some of the people who kind of got on him from my side, from the atheist side. Neil starts out by saying that he's not any kind of ist except a scientist, and that's because he doesn't like the baggage and prejudging that comes with calling oneself an atheist. Now, sure, calling oneself a scientist also comes with a ton of baggage. I mean, people assume, the religious in particular, that you're some kind of, I don't know, evolution-loving, evidence-requiring old earth nutbar who, like 90+% of the top scientists in the world, call themselves atheists. But, you know, calling oneself a scientist is still several magnitudes more socially acceptable, I think, than calling oneself an atheist, even though the two frequently get lumped in together. But I think people are asking Neil to be way more consistent than he needs or wants to be. You know, he's a public figure now, and I know from being a bit of a public figure myself that consistency is nowhere near as valuable or entertaining as expediency. So stop trying to make public figures like Neil and me be internally consistent in our reasoning. There's absolutely no need for that, even if there is. Next, Neil claims his right to self-identify, and I think we need to give him that. Sure, Neil might technically be without a belief in God or gods, making him technically an atheist, but if he doesn't feel comfortable with that terminology, he shouldn't have it thrust on him by others. I totally relate to this. For the last 8 years, I have been constantly, relentlessly really, referred to as a sex symbol. And that is so awkward for me because that is just not the way I see myself always. For the longest time, people called Pluto a planet, which from what I understand made Pluto very uncomfortable. And who was there for Pluto? Neil. So let's give him the same courtesy. And for those atheists upset because you think that, you know, some well-respected person getting behind, standing up for, and or associating with a disparaged minority like atheists would really help the cause, ask yourself this. When was the last time a well-respected person getting behind and or associating with a disparaged minority ever changed anything? Seriously, think about it, people. So, Neil is an agnostic, Pluto is a planetet, and I am not always the sex symbol people make me out to be. Okay? Get over it, alright? Jeez. Next, Neil confabulates the term atheist, which simply refers to a lack of belief in God or gods, with in-your-faith atheist activism. And this is where Neil's brilliance really shines, because remember his first point about not wanting to be associated with the baggage of atheism? Well, now, if someone were to ask, hey, Neil, what baggage? Neil can say, the baggage I just created by associating two things that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. That's brilliant! And it's made even more so by the fact that this is generally a technique used by the religious who associate atheism with communist despots, moral decline, and or, you know, I don't know, imaginary satanic death cults? I don't know. Now, as an atheist activist, you might wonder if I resent this confabulation. Not at all. Unlike Neil, I like being the bad boy. And I'm just realizing as I'm hearing those words coming out of my mouth, that's probably where the whole sex symbol thing comes from. But really, I completely understand not wanting to be associated with the kind of movement that is trying to stop the horrible thinking that would have people deny their fellow citizens the equal protection guaranteed by the Constitution, or stop people from killing others for apostasy or unmarried sex, that kind of thing. Those of us who know the dangers of religion firsthand and are fighting back really do need to get our acts together and focus more on education, like Neil said. Even if that's what we're already doing. So thanks, Neil, for setting us straight. I hereby dub thee the Grand Confabulator. Just brilliant. Finally, I think all atheists need to get off Neil's back and stop claiming him as our own. Don't you see what he's doing? By calling himself an agnostic, he is slipping under the radar. He's our wolf in sheep's clothing. People who would normally dismiss him out of hand don't have to completely write him off and marginalize him because he's a dreaded atheist. He understands that people do that. Partially because that's kind of what it seems he does, but he's found a way around that, and that should be applauded. He's giving people the facts and letting them draw their own conclusions, knowing full well that by teaching them how to think, they will dissuade themselves from believing in an all-knowing, all-powerful sky daddy who really, really, really loves us but will torture us forever if we don't love him back. That is sound reasoning. So atheists, let's get behind this agnostic. You go, Neil. You agnosticate yourself all over the place, and when you do, just know that this atheist activist has your back. All right? We're bros. And Neil, if you find yourself at one of those big power lunches with the network heads and you think maybe a show for bribery would be a good idea, you just let them know that I can dress this thing down as much as I need to, okay? I don't need to be all in your faith about this stuff either. In fact, I can even dial back the sexy if need be. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't do that. I can't. That's just not possible. I'm out of here.